So you talked a lot about how in each step, God called you, he said, this is what you're gonna do, and you was just like, no, I'm not doing it.
Absolutely.
And then eventually you did it because God gets his way regardless.
All the time.
So really talk to us about how TCF is not a personal project and how this is really God's vision being manifested.
Well, TCF is not a personal project because this is not what I personally wanted to do in the first place.
Right.
I'm more so a businessman. I'm about opening up businesses. Matter of fact, my brother and I was helping my brother push his music. You know, we were heavily in music. I thought I was going to be somewhere with, entertainment, helping to manage, like artist management, stuff like that. That was not a plan of mine.
Right.
So therefore but God, ministering and preaching has always been something that has been lingering with me all of my days of my life. Matter of fact, TCF is not even the original ministry that I started.
Wow.
It was outreach across America. And the only reason why that was started is because Vernon, we had a new camera. And so my brother wanted to test out the camera. And so we had a website and everything. Wow. That's when AOL and all that stuff first came out.
Throwback.
So that's when all that stuff came out. When our parents found out that we had that, they was like, get that down there before we have to pay the money. So it was so funny. And I was preaching at 5 and 6. I would come home and mock the pastor at the church I was at the church I grew up out of. I would mark him all the time. And I would come home. I didn't know what I was saying. I would just say, Jesus loves you. I've been screaming like this ever since I was young. I got videotape to prove it. So TCF is not a personal project. TCF is something that God literally placed upon my heart to start. Matter of fact, the name transformation, I had the word transformation, but you want to know who named the rest of the church? It was my father. Transformation Christian Fellowship.
Wow.
I had the word transformation. I knew that our church would be about transformation.
That's right.
I didn't name it Transformation Church or the stuff. Like I was sitting there, I was in a conversation with my dad, and he said, well, why don't you name it's a fellowship, just name Christian, put Christian Fellowship on the end. Wow. And so that's how that came to be. So, you should never launch a church.
That's right.
If it's about your personal or what you can get out of it. There's nothing wrong with pastors getting just due, but if you came in here for selfish gain, you're not going to go far at all. Yeah. You're not going to go far at all. And if it's something that you want the praise of the crowd and stuff like that and looking for a crowd, what happens when your church don't launch that very fast like that, or you thinking that it's going to have this many people and then you preaching in front of 5, 6, 7, some people? Are you going to keep doing it then? No, your intentions, your motives have to be right. And that's even with anything. I don't care if you're in business. I don't care if your motives have to be right for why you are launching your business and why, especially in terms of a church, why you are launching the church. Is it because you had a church hurt you want to launch a church? Or did your pastor want to, you didn't feel like your pastor and you were getting along with the vision and you want to split up a church? What is your real deal of starting a church? And I think a lot of times when people see all these churches, there's a church on every corner, there's churches popping up, because a lot of these churches have been birthed out of rebellion and not out of a place where they were genuinely called. And that's why you can accidentally be successful for a second. And you know what happens? Eventually, if it's not planning right, my spiritual mom was here last year and she said, if you're not planning right, anything can be successful for a little time. But let's see whether it gets real successful. Let's see if it stays there when it goes through the test of time. Wow. Let's see where they really found it on the truth of God's word. Let's see what happens. And I am nothing more than a steward, an instrument, an overseer of what God has instilled on us to transform lives, to connect lives to the transforming power and love of Jesus Christ.
Wow. So, Christian world, one word that we throw out a lot is faith. Faith. You need faith, this and all this other stuff. And we talk about faith so much, yet when you go through the testing and the trial, that's when the faith has really been proven. Talk to us about how throughout this journey, your faith has really gone through, how it's risen, how it's strengthened throughout this process of planting this church.
Oh, that's a very good question. First of all, last year was hell I would say that to anybody. In my first year,
he didn't curse, y'all. He didn't curse.
In my first year, it wasn't cussing. You went through hell, fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the reality is the first year was tough, starting this ministry. It's definitely even more tougher when you've seen the end result, but yet you haven't seen the steps in between to get you to what you have to do.
Wow.
Like, it's one thing to see the promised land.
That's right.
But it's another thing to have to drive out the enemies that are in the promised land.
Wow.
Like, there's one thing to see that, there's one thing to have a vision, to see the end game, but not having to figure out, not knowing the process of what's going to take to get there. Wow. And so with last year before starting the church, I know what the church is going to be.
That's right.
I know what it's going to look like. I know how far this thing is going and the mandate that God has placed upon TCF and what we're supposed to do. I know what is supposed to happen. However, I did not see, like when we did the pre-launch here at the gathering place, we were the whole team,
crazy.
You were there. The whole team was like, oh snap, it's about to go down. Everybody was, oh my God, everybody was so happy. We were so excited because 50 people showed up, and it wasn't all family.
Some randoms.
It was random people we didn't know. It was, friends that showed up.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I can't believe this. And we wasn't selling any chicken dinners.
No macaroni and cheese.
None of that greasy stuff.
Nah.
We didn't do any of that. We just marketed well, and people came.
Yeah.
It looked nice in here. Oh, and we were excited. But God said, okay, now you're going to go through wilderness now. So from that pre-launch, it knocked down, down, and down. See, people don't like to be honest. I'll be honest with you, there was moments in last year that I only preached and there was only 3 people that were sitting in last year. People don't like to be honest, don't like to tell the story of progression, of how things get to another level because we're trying to cover up things.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to cover up things. I'm here to tell the truth so it can liberate somebody when you're doing God's will. Yes, everyone makes this claim to say that if it's God's will, it's going to be successful immediately, and that's not true.
Lies.
That's a lie. That's a big misconception that is not true. Because here's the deal, with anything great, it has to go through, especially the leader has to go through a real true pruning season.
That's right.
In order for that thing to withstand.
That's right.
So last year, after my installation service, matter of fact, my own pastor told me that the original people that would be with you will be gone. So I already had that going into the year. I said, wow, thank you.
Thanks for the great news.
Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Karen Vanessa
Appreciate
Johnson. But she told me that, I was like, man, I ain't trying to hear this, man. Like, I had a feeling about that already, but I'm like, good Lord.
Wow.
So God's really going to take me through the ringer, huh?
Man.
And so that's what he did, man. He personal stuff happened with family and different things like that, and I just I had to keep coming every week.
Yeah.
I could not stop. I had to keep coming every week because I had to show God again. I'm here for the right reasons.
Right. That's right.
I'm here for the right reasons. You told me to start this ministry, and so no matter if it's 2 people, 3, 5, 20, 50, 100. Whoever shows up, I'm gonna preach like it's my last time, and that's why I instill everything in our leadership here. Yeah. You do everything with great intensity.
That's right.
It don't matter who's here. It don't matter who shows up. You do everything with great intensity. That's why when you see the Instagram videos and you see the YouTube videos and you see the worship team worship with such intensity, there could be even one person leading worship.
Sometimes it was 2 people here.
Yeah, and they still going hard, still pursuing God. Yeah. Because if we can't show God that we can do things on excellence with few people here, what's going to happen when you're dealing with over 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 people? We are not coming here. The thing about TCF is we don't care about being known in the Christian world. Yeah. We want to be known in the world.
That's right.
And not the church, the people of the church being known in the world for what they're doing to affect culture. So when you're going to get tired of TCF. But that's what happens when you go through the trials and the struggles. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?